Did you know that the average college graduate owes more than $37,000 after graduation? And less than 54% of high school graduates heading off to four-year colleges actually graduate within 6 years. Hello, I'm Jamila Freelain, author of Free Money for College and the founder of Encouraging Words College Prep. Now, in my new book, I tackle these issues head on. It is filled with more than 50 tips, resources, programs, and college and career preparation information. My new show on the Wake Up Call radio and TV broadcasting network is an extension of that book. Each week, you will be inspired by a tremendous student or a tremendous community leader, and sometimes both. You'll also learn how to save money on college costs. So tune in each week to get inspired and learn something new all at the same time. I look forward to seeing you.
Hello and welcome to the Encouraging Words Show. I'm Jamila Freelain, your host, and I'm glad you tuned in for today. It's a pleasure to see you, and I hope to see more of you. Now, I wanted you to know that I have a really awesome show planned for today. Now, if you've had the opportunity to watch in some of the past episodes, I've had some amazing guests, and this one is nothing short of spectacular as well. In the past shows, if you haven't caught up with them yet, we had Rochelle Gray, who is also the host of the Multiple Intelligence Project. We also had Sporty King, who is the consummate motivator. He's phenomenal. And guess what? He's actually got a new show coming out this Wednesday. It's Glue Wednesdays. You don't want to miss it. You'll stay glued to the tube. Now, what you'll also know is the last show that I did was with Brenda Robinson. She was the first African-American female naval pilot. If you didn't see that, you definitely want to catch that, particularly if you have a passion or an interest in aviation, or you're interested in learning about maybe different non-traditional careers. So it's awesome. For those of you who may be watching for the first time, just let me tell you a little bit about the show. Encouraging Words, the show, is really an extension of this book that I wrote a little while ago. And it's really a book that is a resource for students and parents. It provides strategies and tips and gives you an understanding on college and career preparation. Also shows you how to save some money. And that is actually the goal and the objective of this show, to get you inspired and then to also help you with some college and career tips. I also always want to bring you somebody who has an awesome background and has an awesome story to tell. And today's guest is not short of that. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. So I want you to tell the listening audience your name and your title.
Hi, I am a Brucetta White. I am the Client Care Coordinator at Soul Care Christian Counseling. I'm also a graduating senior from the University of Johnson C. Smith.
All right, awesome, awesome. So tell us a little bit about your particular background. I talk oftentimes with students and with parents who are interested in going back to school, and you're a parent. You went back to school recently. How did that particular transition take place for you?
It was a lot of prayer.
I can imagine.
Because at that point I was actually a full-time, I had a full-time job.
Wow.
And then I decided, it's not until your passion hits your heart that you'll actually make the sacrifice and say, enough is enough. I'm done. So I did go look for resources to return to school for monies. And at the same time, I have to consider I have a daughter who is a junior in high school.
Wow.
So while
she'll be maybe going to school soon.
Yes, she'll go to school next year. So while I was in the process, I was preparing for her as well.
Okay, and a lot of parents go through that particular transition. So now, how did you go through the process or the decision-making process of selecting your particular school? What was important for you? What were you looking for? And what support services were offered for you as a parent?
As a parent, when I remember going to Golden Bull Express, that's open house, and everyone looked at me and said, "Oh, you left your daughter home." I said, "No, I'm the student." So at that point, I made it known that I would need support because this was new to me, returning to school as a full-time collegiate student.
Right, of course.
As far as resources, I of course tapped into the FAFSA, got all that information that I needed, and got a lot of help from the financial aid office.
Okay, okay, wonderful. And what about the classes and things? One of the things that I think is extraordinary about JCSU, Johnson C. Smith University, is they have a program that is designed specifically for the adults in mind. Can you tell the listening audience a little bit more about that? Were your classes in the daytime or the evening?
Well, I am a traditional, I always say I'm a traditional, non-traditional student.
Okay, tell us what that is.
I'm a non-traditional, traditional student. I decided not to go through Metropolitan College,
Okay.
which is their evening program.
Right.
So I'm in school every day,
Oh,
Monday
wow.
through Friday, regular classes. I have an 18-hour credit load.
Wow.
And I work.
You were not playing.
No, I'm not playing because when I started, it was a passion that I needed to finish. So that is what I've done. And Johnson C. Smith, they are always open. They're very helpful. So everything that I needed, all the support that I needed, they had.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons that I chose them.
Okay, great, great. Well, sounds like you feel like you've made an excellent choice, and I would
Yes.
agree with you. Okay.
Yes.
Now, tell me a little bit more about how you decided on your major. What was your career path? You kind of talked about the decision-making process of going back to school.
Right.
Now, I take it maybe you were in a different line of work previously?
I've been in the medical field for about 20 years. I have worked as a nursing assistant, as
Okay.
a medical assistant, as a pharmacy technician, medical billing and coding. So the joke was I could run the whole office myself if I could become the doctor.
I guess so.
But all of those things never gave me that hand-on passion that I wanted. And my biggest passion, my passion is our babies.
Wow. Okay.
And that is the preconception issue that we deal with. How we can get our young people educated prior to conceiving. How we can get the importance out to our young ladies as well as our young men on things they need to do prior to even thinking about getting pregnant.
Wow. So give me an example of some of the things that you do to prepare those young men and young women.
At Johnson C. Smith, there's a program. We are called the Preconception Peer Educators. We are a certified office out of the Office of Minority Health, so we are federally funded and carried.
Wow.
We get grants money from them. We are supported. And with that, we train and teach our students on campus the things they need to know as far as drug and alcohol, how that affects the baby, how that affects the mortality of our babies, how that affects the term carriage of our babies. And then for our young ladies to let them know that they need to make sure they get vitamins, prenatal vitamins and folic acid prior to even getting pregnant.
Wow, wow. Now, you know, a lot of people, both traditional students as well as non-traditional students, a lot of times they think of the medical field and maybe just think of nursing or maybe becoming a doctor, that sort of thing. So it's great and refreshing to have you here to let the audience know about more another path in the industry. So great. And what is your major again?
Community health.
Community health.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about community health. What does that consist of? Is that the same as public health? Is that different?
Well, it's different in the fact that when we say public health, we're dealing on a more global scheme.
Okay.
Community health, we deal with our communities at hand. What can we do in our close community, our close-knit community, to make our health better?
Okay.
What are some of the disparities that we can break down in our communities to make them better?
Okay, that makes sense. Now, let me know, what type of real-world, applicable, practical things did you gain through the program at JCSU? I think you mentioned when we were talking, maybe off camera, that they have a garden or some other things?
Yes,
Okay.
we have a sustainability garden, and with that, we plant and grow our own food, some
Wow.
vegetables, our vegetables, our fruits, and
Okay.
on Tuesday,
So all organic.
all organic.
Wow.
We don't use any pesticides
Okay.
or herbicides. It's all organic, and those things that we actually grow, we put them on. We take them to Beatty's Ford Health Department on Tuesdays, and they are in the farmers market.
Okay, now is that a class that you actually got credit for, or is that some?
No, it's community service.
Okay, it's a community
It's
service
community
that's
service
offered.
that
So
offers
that's
offered.
not offered necessarily through the program, but that is practical application.
It
where you
is,
get- Okay,
yes.
wonderful, wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about your interest in working with babies, because I know actually I meet young women sometimes who are often interested in that particular area. And honestly, prior to meeting you, I don't think I knew more. I don't think I knew very much at all about that program for community services at JCSU. So definitely share with them the work that you plan to do and how that connects with your major.
Okay. My major, again, is community health, but my passion is preconception justice, and that deals with the health disparities, social justice, as well as the empowerment of women before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and after pregnancy. If we can make sure that they are educated across the board, and healthcare is across the board on a non-biased issue, then we will meet our goal.
Okay. Well, I think that's tremendous. And do you have any interest in becoming maybe a midwife or something along those lines?
Of course.
Okay.
I complete my doula training in November, and
wow.
that is the next thing that I'd like to do. Initially, I wanted to go to medical school. However, with the politics, it's hard to actually be a good doctor right now because of politics.
I was going to say, why do you say
because
that?
of politics and insurance. Most doctors are backed or have funding through insurance companies, and you get 15 to 20 minutes with each client or each patient.
Wow.
You may have someone that needs more time.
Right.
So that is where I decided, well, if I can become a doula and then a midwife, I can actually deal with our brown babies or our babies of color and have hands-on in helping them.
Wow. Now, where did you go to get that kind of training?
Doula there.
It's not something you see at the community college.
No, it is not. Here in North Carolina, there's a program called Doulas of Color.
Okay.
So that is where I'm doing my doula program. The midwifery program is in New Mexico.
Midwifery.
Yes.
Okay, that's my new word for the
Yes.
day. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, wonderful, wonderful. Now, as far as your daughter, you mentioned she's looking at going back to school, or she's not going back,
Yes.
she's going into school as well. So
Yes.
she's planning on attending a 4-year college or university?
Yes.
Okay.
I have been in school 2.5 years, and she's gone to school with me. She has gone to school with me.
Yes.
And all of my evening classes, she went with me. So I wanted to expose her to actual college life.
Which is great.
So when she gets on campus, it won't shock her. Because that's what happens
so
a lot of
important.
times. They go off to college and they're shocked into reality. These things don't excite her anymore.
Okay.
My mother asked me, why are you taking her to school with all those big boys? Well, she's going to see some big boys.
Indeed.
So I decided to let her go see the big boys. And now they're just like, hey, how are you doing? And we just walk on. Her interest is Savannah State.
Okay.
She does want to do an HBCU. So we visited several, but she is sold on Savannah State. So
What was it about Savannah State that really got her interest or sold her?
when we walked into the office of registrar, the lady said, hey, baby, come here. She said,
That was
Mama,
it
this
for her.
is it.
So it wasn't the big boys.
It wasn't the
okay.
big boys.
Okay.
No, not the big boys. I will drive to Savannah. I will drive to Savannah.
That's not a long drive from Charlotte.
No.
Well, cool. Well, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. Now, does she have an interest in following in your footsteps by any chance?
No, psychology is
Okay.
her
Well, that's
interest.
sort of kind of depending on what her path is and what she
Yes.
wants to do with it.
Yes.
So great. Now tell me, I know you're a working student as well, and I know for a lot of students, both traditional students and non-traditional
Right.
students, sometimes juggling and balancing work and school can really be take some talent.
Yes.
So how have you managed to do that? What has been your saving grace, or what tips can you give those at home that may be thinking about going the same route?
Well, my saving grace is Soul Care Christian Counseling.
Oh, okay.
That is where I work. I have the best boss. I have the best director because I am a full-time student and she is very flexible. She has allowed me to actually, I came to her as an intern, a public health intern, and she's allowed me to actually sit in with some clients, to actually voice my passion.
Wow.
So I can't say that everybody's going to be that blessed, but I thank God for my blessing.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like you just all around have been winning. So that's
Yes,
great.
it's
That's
a
great.
win-win for me.
And
Thank
you're
you, God.
graduating, is it this December or spring?
Well, I'll be done in December. However, we only have one graduation, so May 20th, 2018.
All right. And what's that GPA, by the way?
3.45.
All right now. Cool. Well, we're going to run to a break, and after that, we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll come right back. Okay? If you're just tuning in for the first time, I have with me my guest is Brucetta.
Yes.
Brucetta White, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Brucetta White is a student who recently returned back to school and was telling us a little bit about her particular path and some of the amazing things that she's done in her career and is continuing to do. She was also telling us about the program at Johnson C. Smith, which sounds remarkable as well. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Of course, we always want to leave you with some awesome college and career preparation tips. And it's all about saving money as well. If you can reduce some of your college and career costs, that can make a world of difference. And just like you had the opportunity to expose your daughter at a young age to some of the things that you're doing as a college student, I can't applaud you enough and commend you enough for doing that, because I think a lot of times that's just not something that parents may know to do, or just they're not back in school, so they don't have that opportunity to do so. So that being said, I want to really talk about 3 college and career preparation tips today that you can do early on that can literally save you thousands of dollars. Now, if you're not familiar, I'm going to talk about 3 programs, and again, it's going to be an opportunity for you to learn. So I want you to take out your pen and paper and get geared up. Now, as I'm speaking, you'll see the first slide come up, and the main reason that we're talking about college preparation and college planning so early on is because at the end of the day, college costs have increased tremendously. Now, for a 4-year school, if you look at the statistic that's on the slide there that's in front of you, according to CNBC, in approximately 18 years, college costs for a traditional 4-year public school will be just over $54,000. Now, if we multiply that out, and assuming the student is graduating on time within 4 years, that is over $216,000. Now, for someone that's attending a private school, a private 4-year school, the projection in 18 years is that the tuition cost would be over $121,000. So now, if you multiply that out, once you multiply that out by 4 years, you're looking at nearly $500,000, $480,000 and some change to be exact. So for those reasons, we want to be very keen and very aware of what you need to do beforehand. And one of the things that you've done, and I applaud you and commend you for that, is providing college and career exposure at an early age, because that gives her an idea, that has given your daughter surely a better idea of what to expect in a college environment, and gives her an idea too maybe of what she likes and what she doesn't like. And it's just as important to know what you don't like as it is to know what you do like when it comes to college, particularly when you look at these costs that we're discussing for now. Now, on the next slide I want you to take a look at, that's actually from a source called motherjones.com. And on the Mother Jones website, or on that particular slide rather, one of the things that you'll notice is it gives a projection. It shows between 1978 and 2015, and it shows you that red line. That red line that you're actually looking at is for college and tuition costs. So between 1978 and 2015, college costs have increased over 1,100%. So college costs have risen further and faster than any of those other expenses that are listed that you see there, health care costs, housing costs, all those different things. So for those reasons, we have to be very keen and very aware of the fact that the earlier we can begin prepping and providing exposure on college and career planning, it can really, really save you. Now, to that point, I want to direct you to the next slide that we're going to take a look at. Now, the next slide is on dual credit, dual enrollment, and dual earn credit. First off, are you familiar with dual credit? Or
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about dual enrollment. What does that mean to you? Because sometimes parents are familiar and sometimes they're not. So since I have you as my guest today.
Okay. What we found out, my daughter, she'll need 24 credits, 28 credits to graduate.
Okay.
She's a junior and she already has 22 credits.
Okay,
So
wonderful.
she came into high school with some high school credits.
Okay.
With that, next year as a senior, she can do dual enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
She can do 2 classes, the last 2 classes of high school
Mm-hmm.
at her high school, and the other 2 she can actually do at CPCC.
Mm-hmm. And what high school is she at, may I ask?
She's at Mallard Creek High School.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So for those of you that maybe didn't catch that, dual enrollment is where you're enrolled at the high school and at the college at the same time. Now, one of the biggest benefits of doing dual enrollment is obviously that saves you some time and some money. How much are her classes at Central Piedmont Community College, the local college here in Charlotte, North Carolina?
I think is it $56 a credit hour?
Okay, $56 a credit hour. That's almost free.
Almost free.
When you think about it. And normally the cost per credit hour at Central Piedmont Community College is about $75. Now, she then is not participating in the North Carolina Promise program?
No, she is not.
Okay. So the Promise program is another program that we'll talk about on another episode, and that's actually where she could, as a high school student, take her classes for free.
Yes.
So dual enrollment, again, a reduced cost, $56 per credit hour. You're not going to get that price anywhere. So that's tremendous right there. Now, here's the thing. Dual enrollment is when you're enrolled in high school and college at the same time. Dual earned credit is even better. So just like you mentioned, your daughter has satisfied a number of her high school credits. When you have dual earned credit, what you're able to do is, let's say, for example, if she went to the community college and took XYZ, let's say English 101, just for the sake of simplicity. For that English class, it can satisfy a high school credit as well as a college credit. So that saves time and money on two fronts. So that way, not only would she be saving by the cost, and of course, one of the costs of the program that I'm going to talk about next week is absolutely free to students. But even with the program that your daughter is participating in, if you compare that cost to, let's say, a local college or university, I have one school in mind, and I guess I won't mention that one by name, but that school, even though their cost is pretty affordable, it's still $165 per credit hour. So at the end of the day, $56 beats $165 every day, all day.
Yes.
So that's one thing. So dual enrollment and dual earned credit. That's one thing we want to talk about. Another thing we want to talk about is the early college program. Are you familiar with the early college programs?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about the early college programs.
The early college program that we actually went to was, again, at CPCC, and she would be able to do her last 2 years at CPCC.
That's actually middle college, but I'm going to talk about that too. Okay, but you're right on the money. So finish your thought, and then I want to interject.
And if I remember correct, there were certain test scores that they needed to score, certain scores that they needed to make to actually make it into that program.
That's true. There are some benchmarks that have to be made, and that's whether it's here or at another institution. So let's flip it for a second, because I was actually going to end with middle college. But middle college is actually where you would leave your high school and you would come in junior year. And junior and senior year, you take your classes at that college or university. Now, she mentioned Central Piedmont Community College because that's the only community college that we have here in the city of Charlotte. But many other schools have middle college programs. So you come in as a junior or senior, your junior and senior year, you come into that program. You leave your home high school or whatever high school you attended, and you go to that college and you complete the remainder of your high school credits as well as some college credits, college level classes. Then you have the option of doing one additional year. That's referred to as your 13th year. If you complete that 13th year, that allows you essentially to complete the rest of your certificate, degree, or diploma that you might be maybe have started on once you started the middle college program. Now, early college is very similar. Early college, the biggest difference between early college and middle college is middle college, you come into the college your junior or senior year of high school, and again, you're finishing out your high school years. Early college, you go straight from middle school to the college. So you don't stop at a high school. You go directly and take all of your high school years at that college. So some of the other, for example, a lot of the surrounding community colleges in our area actually participate in an early college program. And same principle applies. You can finish out your 4 years of high school concurrently with taking college level courses, and then you have the option, of completing an additional year, that 13th year. By that time, you may have completed your full associate's degree. Now, if you're going to a school that you've gone into, let's say, a transfer program, and maybe the bulk of those credits actually transfer into whatever state college or traditional university that you want to go to, you're looking at saving anywhere from between $20,000 up to $40,000, depending on what kind of a program that you're going into. That's significant, and that's prior to even applying for any scholarships. That's free money that you're leaving on the table if you're not investigating programs just like that. Now, we have a few minutes remaining. Do you have any questions about those programs?
Well, I'm glad that I'm here today because with her going into college, this information is very helpful.
Okay, well, great. And it sounds like you maybe did some investigating of that as well.
Yes.
Okay. And was there a reason that you didn't participate? Was it test scores, or did she decide she didn't necessarily want to go?
She just decided she didn't want to go because once we found out, once you leave your high school, you go to that school.
Right.
It's not that you go back and graduate with your class.
Correct.
So all of your social aspects. So she said, "Well, Mommy, I don't get to go to the prom."
Yeah.
Well,
and that
no,
happens.
that
That's
happens.
common. That's very common. And that's the thing. You have to find what's right for you. AP classes might be perfect for
Right.
one person. Middle college might be a perfect situation for someone else. But you've got to be armed with the knowledge. And again, you get that information from books like this, providing the resources. So with that being said, as far as your daughter, now she's an only child, or?
My son, no, I have an older son.
Okay. So now, did he go through some of this process as well, or did he take a different path?
He took a different path. He chose to do a certificate program.
Oh, okay,
So
wonderful.
he did
In what
carpentry.
area? Oh, okay. Well,
So he
that's
did
booming right
carpentry.
about now.
Yes.
Is he in the Charlotte area?
He's in the Goldsboro area.
Okay. Now, I don't know much about Goldsboro. Is there a lot of building or construction to be had in that area?
No, it is not
Okay.
at this moment.
Okay.
But yes.
Gotcha. Okay, wonderful. And the reason I asked about that is because, again, I think the more that the people at home understand that it takes, many different paths for someone sometimes before they find their ultimate destination. And there's no harm or no foul. But again, if you can start exploring that and examining that early on, you make a world of difference in your life. Now, that being said, where did you do your undergrad studies?
I started at the University of South Carolina in Columbia.
Okay, now how is it different from then to now? When you were going to school, were you straight out of high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Straight out of high school.
And how did that path happen? Was that something your parents impressed upon you, or was that something you thought, well, you wanted to see the big boys? I mean, what went into that?
No, I didn't want to see the big boys.
Me too. I mean, that was a motivation.
The University of South Carolina, I remember being a freshman coming straight out of high school. I
Okay.
went into an auditorium with 2,000 people, and they called the roll by the last four of my social.
Oh, okay.
So at that point, straight out of high school, I got a little lost because it was huge. I do believe that if I had gone from high school to an HBCU, a smaller HBCU, I probably would be much further, but God does what he does when he does how he does it.
Amen.
Going forward, I can understand my classmates. They are my children's age, and they enjoy going to class with maybe 15, 20 students. They learn better. There's more interaction, and they can apply what they're learning to everyday life because there's someone there who's tangible. There's somebody who's tangible and can actually help you along the way.
Okay. And because you've had that advantage of being able to be that traditional student and the non-traditional student, what do you like better, would you say?
I like being the traditional student.
Okay.
Okay. I really enjoy, and I tell Chantel all the time, I think I'm going to stay in school the rest of my life. I love school.
I do too.
I
understand.
love school. So yeah, I will
Okay.
be in school as long as I can.
Great. And it's good too that you are able to compare and contrast what your experience has been, was when you were coming straight out of high school versus, now
My
as
experience and then.
What kind of a student were you in high school?
In high school, I was an AB student.
Okay.
And going into college, I did well. Also, it was just the size. It was the size.
Just very overwhelming.
Just overwhelming.
Now, did you have the opportunity to do some college tours and do some of the things maybe that you've done with your daughter?
Not as many.
Okay.
Not as many. And I've taken charge of that.
Mm-hmm.
We decided her 7th grade year that we were going to do a summer trip. So
Mm-hmm.
every summer trip, we scoped it around what school we were going to.
Okay.
So
you
since
sculpted the kind of the family
Yes.
vacation around some college
around
schools. That's
those
really
college.
smart.
Yes.
That's a way to save money too.
We saved money. We've been doing it since 7th grade, and we've gone and seen a lot of school. We've seen some PWIs and HBCUs, and she enjoyed.
PWIs for the listening audience.
Oh, PWI is predominantly white institution.
Mm-hmm.
HBCU is historically black.
Mm-hmm.
College and university, and it's just a different feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different feel because most HBCUs feel like family,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of our children need that. They aren't comfortable leaving home going to a large environment.
Mm-hmm.
If they can go to a smaller environment and get what they need, still get that love, that coddling, and get the education, it's a win-win for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's some children who can grasp and grow in
Right.
that larger environment, but those who need that smaller, I push the HBCU all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Not the same thing is not going to work for everyone.
Exactly.
As a graduate of a predominantly white institution, and I had a lot of success and graduated on time, but I don't necessarily think that's the environment for everyone.
Exactly.
Nor do I think it's conducive to everyone. You sometimes need that smaller class interaction, and you want the instructor to know you by name, and we certainly did not have that at my school.
No.
So it's definitely a different path. So real quickly, if you had 1 or 2 tips to leave the audience with about the thought of returning to school as an adult, what would you say?
Returning to school as an adult, the very first thing I would say is make sure that your priorities are straight.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that this is what you want to do, because at the end of the day, if you are getting financial aid or federal aids, you have to pay that back. So I think you should go give your 100%, because at the end, that's your baby.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to thank my guest again, who has been a pleasure to have here. And I think you provided definitely a wealth of knowledge and experience that you were able to share with the listening audience. So I thank you again. And just want to encourage you guys to keep watching. For those of you who are just tuning in, again, this is the Encouraging Word Show. I'm Jamila Freelain, your host, and we're about to sign off. But before we leave out, I want to leave you with a quote by Benjamin Franklin, one of my favorite quotes, and that is to remember that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to tune in next week.